As some of you know, my name is Sonya Pemberton, and I'm part of the Kythera Green Steering Committee. Today's event is part of a series of talks that are being hosted by Kythera Green for our members and for the wider community. We're sharing stories of people who shaped the island and deepened our understanding and appreciation of Kythera. Now, these recordings are available on our YouTube channel at Kythera Green and soon on our up-and-coming website. And all the links will be shared via the Kythera Green WhatsApp. So if you're looking to share this later, just go there. Today's conversation focuses on the leadership, insights, and contributions of someone we all know, not just for what he's done, but for how he's done it. Frank van Weerde. Frank, together with his partner Tom, has lived on Kythera full-time since 2003. As the founder of Pyrgos House, he's made many significant contributions to the island through small-scale accommodation, working holidays, amazing outdoor experiences. He's also played a key role in developing and maintaining the island's network of hiking paths, whilst bringing people together through workshops in dance, cooking, olive oil, honey, everything, connecting locals and visitors with the island's culture and environment. He is the author of Kythera, Just a Special Island, a reflection on local lives and history, and the hiking guidebook Kythera on Foot, now in its 22nd edition in 2026, an extraordinary achievement. So congratulations, Frank.
Thank you.
Many of you will also know Frank through Winter Sunday Walks, wonderful gatherings that bring people together to explore the island, often followed by shared food and even some dancing. And these moments capture something essential about the community. It's about connection, about generosity and participation. So Frank is widely respected for the way he works, quietly, collaboratively, and with lasting impact. His ability to get things done while bringing people along with him is both rare and deeply valued. So today we'll explore some of his experiences, the values that guide him, and what we can all learn about contributing to the future of this special island. This conversation will run about 40 minutes, followed by time for all of your questions. So thank you for joining us. Hello, Frank. Let's start. Tell
Hi,
us about
Sonia.
your
Good
life.
morning.
How are you, Frank?
I'm very well. Thank you. How are you? Thank you.
Really good to have you here. So let's start by tell us about your life before coming to Kythera. Where were you living and what were you doing?
Before Kythera, we were living in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands. I studied, I didn't finish it, but I studied for 4 years art history in Amsterdam at the Vrije Universiteit, the free university. And after a few years, I started, in order to pay also for my studies, I started to work in theater as a staff member, welcoming the guests, the wardrobe, the buffets, etc. And after I finished my study, I continued working there full time. And I started working as well in sort of a tourist office in Amsterdam that was a central office for theater tickets, actually a ticket box. So this work I did for, let's say, roughly from 86 till, I don't remember actually, for sure of 12 or 13 years. At some point I started at a higher level working, managing box office at the theater, managing a call center for the central box office in Amsterdam. And the last 3 years, yes, the last 3 years before coming to Kythera, I worked as one of the managers, one of the 4 managers in the Anne Frank Museum on the Prinsengracht.
So was this your beginning of your experience of working with tourists?
Well, actually, it's having a tourist office now here in Kythera, as you said before, during the introduction. It's quite similar, you're working with people, administration to do. I like the combination of working at the office, but I like very much working with people, inviting people, welcoming people, explaining things, telling stories about history, about whatever there is to tell about. In order to have a nice contact and interaction with people. That's what I mostly like.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
your partner Tom is an important part of your story as well. How
Very,
did you
very
two?
important. Maybe it's the most important part of the story. I don't know.
So
Well,
how
I
did
met
you meet
Tom.
him?
Well, I met him on the during my work in one of the theaters. He was working there as a theater technician, and very soon after I started working, we fell in love, and okay, this is how it started, and this was about 40 years ago, and
Congratulations.
still happy, yeah. But now on Kythera.
And then in 1991, you decided to go on a trip that brought you here to
Yeah,
Kitwe. Tell us about
exactly.
that. What was it like then?
Well, I was Tom and I went every other day to Greece for a holiday. Usually, in mid of June, mid of July, for 3, 4 weeks when the theater was closed, we could go. And I found out about Kythera during a holiday in Evia, the main island east of Athens. Someone told us about Kythera because we like to go to non-touristy islands, quiet islands, beautiful islands, or part of the mainland. And this guy told us about Evia, and he said, next time he told us about Kythera being on Evia, and he told us, next time when you visit Greece, why don't you go to Kythera? So when we went back to Amsterdam, I visited the Greek tourism, how do you call it, the tourist organization. But this was in the area in the time without internet, so you had to find your own information at the Greek organization of tourism organization. Sorry, they didn't have any leaflet about Kythera or information, so I found only, I think it was a third page on Lonely Planet. This was the guide we used to travel with. This was our guide, and it wasn't very positive, I have to say. That's what I remember. Not very, but it was easy, not very easy to get there. There's not a lot to do, and if you want to leave, it's not easy to leave again, etc., etc. But finally, we decided to go. We found out there was an airport, so we booked our tickets, and we wanted to come here for 2 weeks. And after that, we want to extend our holidays on the Peloponnese in Mani, which we did. This was in 1991, you said, and we arrived, I think, mid-June, and we stayed for 2 weeks in Kapsali. The beautiful accommodation of Aphrodite Apartments, with the bay in front of your feet. It was wonderful. We had a very good time, but we left after 2 weeks as we planned to do so. And when we left from Ayapli, the harbor, we said, because we love the island that much from the first moment onwards, we will come back next year. So we will now go to the Mani, and next year we come back to Kythera, and then we will stay 3, 4 weeks in Kythera. We don't go anywhere else in Greece, which we did. So the year after, we stayed again at Aphrodite Apartments in Kapsali, and we came back the year after. We came back twice a year, and then we started to think, as I think many people do when you fall in love with a location or a destination. We thought, okay, why don't we try to find something here which will be our own house in the future, which we did. It took us 2 or 3 years to find something with the money we had at that time, and this was the house in Podamos which we bought in 1997, actually for summer holidays. And in 2003, after 6 or 7 years of renovation, we came here for permanently. So this is the start of our life on Kythera.
Yeah. And I understand that Tom has some special skills that were very helpful in renovating. His theatre technical background came to play.
Exactly. Very, very handy man, because, his official profession is electrician, and working for more than 25 years as a theater technician in this theater, he's very, very handy. He likes to create things with his hands. He is very successful with this. So the thing I could assist, what I could do is painting. I'm a very good painter. So together we did, I think, a good job, and we are still living in the same house. We renovated mostly ourselves. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so why did you decide to make it your permanent home rather than just a holiday home?
This was not a very easy decision, but actually it was, in some way, it was easy. It's not easy to make a decision or to decide to migrate, because we had a very good life in Amsterdam. We had good work, our family, our friends. We didn't have actually any reason to leave the country. But we renovated our house with the idea of starting to live here after Tom's retirement, which would be after another, I don't remember, about 20 years, around, 20 years. At some point, there was a change in his work in the theater. It went over from one owner to another owner. And at the same time, one of his very dearest colleagues became very ill. And this was, this colleague was a little bit older. And this was a reason that we thought of, okay, why would we stay? Why would we wait actually another 15 years, 20 years? Maybe we're not that healthy at that time. And we wanted desperately to find out how it was living on Kythera permanently. So we decided to quit our jobs and to start all over again here in Kythera.
Fantastic. Did you have any clear idea of what sort of work you might be doing? Did you have
Actually,
work planned?
No. We didn't. We came here with a little bit of money, but this money would be enough for, let's say, 1 year. And of course, I was 37. Tom was in those days 49, 50 years old. So still young enough, both of us, choose to start a new work, a new job. And I was very lucky to find a job at Ross Holidays at one of, or as a representative of Ross Holidays, which is a Greek-Dutch company that offers holidays in about 20 destinations in Greece, also on Kythera since 2003. So the year that we came, and I started working for them in 2004. And Tom started working actually because people saw us working at our own house. So as soon as we came here, he immediately had work, arranging a new kitchen at the neighbor's house, or fixing a toilet or a shower or whatever. So actually, we started working nearly from the beginning on.
And how was it important? How important was it for you to be creating new work opportunities? Because as I understand it, you didn't want to take a job away from anyone. You wanted to create a new job. How important was that to you?
Well, I think this is very important. I think for many people, if you decide to move from one country to another country, you are a guest in your new country. I'm still Dutch. Of course, maybe I'm now half Greek, I don't know, but living here for more than, let's say, 23 years now. But I'm still Dutch. So I think you need to be aware of your position in a new country, wherever you are. And of course, to feel at home as soon as possible and as well as possible, it is important to work. Apart from, you need money to live, but also to feel part of the community where you are living in. Also that other people see what you are doing and that you are offering something back to the community where you decide to live. Because they didn't ask you to come. It's your own decision to go somewhere else because of you like the location, because it's more beautiful, the climate, whatever. But I think, to integrate in a good way, I think this is very important, that you realize this, and that you keep on realizing that you are a guest. We are a guest on Kythera, even after more than 20 years. You need to work on this.
Yeah. And how welcoming did the Kythera community feel to you and Tom? How did it feel settling into the community?
They were very, very welcome, I have to say. We were very lucky. And okay, you don't choose this, you know. We bought an old house in Potamos, which is at the edge of the village. No street, you know, it's only an alleyway, no cars, no mopeds, but we were very, very lucky with our direct neighbors, Mitsos and Chrysoula. Mitsos was then the barber of Potamos. Together with Chrysoula, they were a farmer couple, actually. They had many different kind of animals, and they welcomed us very warmly. And we had a very, very, very good connection. So we felt very supported. But this is also, I think, we did it ourselves because we are humble people. We don't shout. We are not very present, and we respect very much the local nature. And we were very interested in the local nature. So the local culture. So we wanted to find out many details. So a lot of conversations about, you know, the daily life, how they were producing their own cheese, how they were producing their own honey, taking care of the animals. They taught us how to cultivate land, how to grow our own vegetables. We have a nice plot of land where we, in the first years, for sure, we had to work a lot because it was a real jungle in order to make it possible to grow our own vegetables. So there was a lot of talking about, for them, normal things, but for us, very special things, very precious things, actually. And in this way, we were...
Sorry, when did you start thinking about walking tours, and where did that come from? Was your background and your love of walking part of that next transition to visualizing something you wanted to bring to the island?
Well,
Tell
actually,
us about that.
We found out because when we were in Greece on holiday, we never had a car. You know, we relied on public transport, but on Kythera, there's no public transport. So it was very easy to start walking. We love to walk. We did a lot of walking also in the Netherlands and during other holidays. So staying in Kapsali, we walked, for example, crazy maybe, but we went to Feriamos to go to the beach. Not every day, of course, but every week we went 1 or 2 times to Feriamos, which is a long walk from Kapsali. It's a beautiful walk. We were used to walk also anywhere, but mainly here in Kythera, we found out how beautiful the island is while you're walking. I think this is the best way, wherever you are, to discover a location, you know, by walking. You know, it's your own pace. It's not, you go peacefully, quietly, and it's nice. When I started the next year, I started to work for Ross Holidays, I told you before. And many people from Ross Holidays as well, Dutch people or Belgian people, because this was the group of people who came from the Netherlands and Belgium. Most of them like to walk as well. And I started to write down some trails I knew. And in 2005, I started with my hiking book, you told already, Kythera on Foot, with 32 walks. And this was the way I started to find out, actually, because it was my hobby. Walking is my hobby, hiking is my hobby. But to share this and to find out and to see that other people are enjoying the island much more during a walk or by walking I couldn't imagine it, but it worked this way.
And at what point did you decide to make this your own business?
Well, I left Ross Holidays in 2010, and before 2010, I already had I already created trekking tours, hiking tours, so people can walk from village to village, from hotel to hotel. Because with the 64 villages on this island, this is quite easy to do. Okay, you need to think about it, and you need to organize it, but it's not very, very difficult. I discussed this with my former director at Ross Holidays, but he didn't want to continue. So when I left the company, after 2 years, I started Pyrgos House, the office, offering these trekking tours, because according to the Greek law, selling this kind of tours, you need to have an office. You can't sell them through your laptop or from your home, from your house. You need to have an office where people can come to get information, etc. So when I started, I was lucky in those days. There was the economical crisis. So because of this crisis, the government had a few regulations, which was not very strict anymore as 2 years before. Because 2 years before I wanted to start my office, but I couldn't do this because it was in those days too expensive to start an office, for me too expensive. But because of the crisis, the costs to start a company were lower, and so I could start in 2012. I started the office. Yeah.
And how was it difficult to make it financially viable at first?
Yes. We are. It wasn't very difficult because we are. We don't want to become rich. If you want to become rich, okay, you will decide something else. For me, it was the first time actually that I started my own business. Before, I was working for other companies. I was a staff member. So this was more exciting for me than finding out if we could live with it. But it was successful from the start. Okay, we started very slowly, but I sold quite a few trekking tours from the beginning. In the same time, in 2010, I forgot to tell you, 2010, we opened Pyrgos House, our own house, which we rent out as an accommodation. This is a legal official accommodation, and this went very well. So this as a backup, it was easy to start business to find out if it would work. If it wouldn't work, okay, we still had our house to rent out, and we had some income from this. So it wasn't a huge risk. And actually, I think I was quite sure that it would work, because I saw the potential of the island, and I saw the people coming to the island that liked the island that much, actually, because of the walking, not during the summer months in July, August, because it's far too warm. But people who like to come in this period, March, April, May, or let's say September, October, this is also a way, what I was thinking of before, in order to extend the season, to make a longer season.
Yeah, which is very prescient now, isn't it? Because everyone's...
It's beautiful. I think the island now, in late March, April, the beginning of May, I think this is the best for nature, for hikers, is the best period. Yes.
And you also took on the task of sort of restoring some of the old paths with very limited resources, didn't you? What was the response from the local community, and how did you negotiate that?
Well, when I started to create these hiking tours, I used the walks, the hikes, mainly along unpaved roads, and used footpaths, the monopathia. But that's much more. So in order to create nicer hikes and more interesting routes, I had to decide I had to think how to do this, and the only way to do is, because the footpaths are there, but completely overgrown, most of them, is to reopen them, to make them accessible again. And this is what I did. Yes, I started to do this, discussing with local people, finding out from local people, because they knew from their child years, how a path went from village to village.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning I couldn't recognize, and I knew the island well, but not that well into details. But they showed me where to look in the landscape, how to find out different footpaths. By talking and showing the people, or trying to show the people how beautiful their own island is, even if they were not using anymore these footpaths, but giving the footpath that they were there for a reason. Of course, the reason now is just to relax during a walk, to enjoy the walk. The reason now going on this footpath is not because of work. You have to go to the fields 5 kilometers further on in order to feed your animals or to whatever. So it's a different way of using the footpath. And it took some discussion, or it took some time not to convince, I don't want to use this word, but to get the people realizing that this is the beauty of their island. At the same time, Kythera trails. In those days, it was Kythera hiking. Now the name is Kythera Trails. They started to open these footpaths and to signpost this footpath. Not all of them, but they started with, let's say, 3 or 4 different circular walks. So the way of looking at the island, mainly by the local people, was changing in those days.
Sorry about that. Interrupted by Black Cat. That's really interesting. And how often did you have any resistance from the locals when you were having paths going through their villages or at the back of their houses? How did you deal with that? What was your way of dealing with people?
Well, this is I realized, because that what I like doesn't mean that everyone will like it, because actually the footpath, the monopathia, the footpaths are for common use. They are for everyone. They are not private. Of course, sometimes a footpath changes. It goes along a private land, or the private land changes. It changes a little bit and interrupts a footpath. So sometimes if you know this, or you realize this, that you are clearing near a private land, you try to find the owner. And then you ask, and sometimes most of the time they agree, I have to say, because the people see what we are doing, and they realize that that's what I think as well. It's a very good thing for the island.
Yeah.
But if someone doesn't agree, okay, you respect this, you wait, and you try again. And if you don't succeed, then okay, you leave it and you try something else. Then you make another trail or another route.
How many paths do you have now? Do you know?
In my book are 32 walks, 32 round walks. I have 3 trekking tours, which is the Kythera walking tour, round south and round north. So in total 3 trekking tours. Kythera Trails has in total about 150 kilometers of signposted trails, which they started work on since I think 2008, 2009. And the last project, which will be a wonderful project, they will be finishing all this year, or hopefully, or for sure next year, which is the main connection between the east and the west, between Paliopoli and Milopotamos, which will be a 17 kilometers trail, which will be beautiful, I'm sure. So in total, if you compare it, let's say, with 15 years ago, there are hundreds of kilometers to walk on the islands. It changed a lot. It changed a lot.
That's amazing. And how important was the collaboration with groups like Keeper?
Important, because they also see the importance of this of the nature and beauty of the island. The cooperation is good. You know, we support each other. I think, but this is personally, it's very important also to keep on processing it. You know, it's not only take the initiative and that's it, and then it's okay. Because a footpath, if you don't maintain a footpath, like if you don't maintain your house, if you don't maintain your car, if you don't maintain yourself, you know, it's footpath. It becomes a jungle within 2, 3, 4 years ago again. So you need to maintain. So you need to follow up what you are doing. You need to follow up, and this is very important. This means this takes you need money to do this. Of course, a lot of volunteering work, which is very, very important. But you need money also to do it, to do this, to maintain this.
How have you dealt with that challenge of getting the money to do that?
What I do is I collect money. If people give me a tip, all my tips go into the footpaths. 15% of my income from the walks, you know, my trekking tours, my group holidays, my guided walks, whatever, everything I do with walks and I getting paid for because this is my work. 15% of this goes to the footpaths. So this is my way of giving back something to the island. I'm not a person who wants to go to an authority. Authorities are very important, of course, but I prefer to do it to do it myself. So I'm free also to create footpath or to maintain the footpath that are, I think, important.
That's fantastic. I think most of us would be unaware that you do that, Frank. So that's really quite remarkable.
Yes, no, I'm not a fundraiser. I'm not a guy that stands on the square and you know you need to help me whatever. I have my way to do so. Fortunately, my work is going very well. The walks are going very, very well. You know, it's my income. I can live from it. And this is my way to give something back to the island.
Fantastic. You talked before about some of the values that guide how you work with the community. You said you're always a guest. You know, you have to act like a guest. Can you expand on that? And also, can you just tell me, after 23 years, do you still feel like a guest?
Well, people tell me, Greek people, local people tell me you're a Greek, you know, as I think I'm half Greek, I'm half Dutch. I love the island that much. I'm really feeling at home here. So I think this is the main thing that you feel at home. This is the best feeling you can have. Sorry, can you tell me the question again?
Your values. I mean, you said before that it's important to be humble and it's important to be aware that you are in another person's place.
Yes.
I mean, has that guided you the whole time? I mean, you've had 20 years of building this business and giving back to the island, but are you guided by a set of principles around putting the locals first, or how do you do that?
Well, I think yes, I'm still realizing that I am a guest on this island. Of course, I'm feeling local as well, but the mentality is, you know, every country, every people has its own mentality, and I don't think wherever you are, it is not good to press your own mentality to other people. Or within, you know, a small group of people, or within a couple, or within a larger community. I think it's important to, okay, you have your own personality, you have your own character, you have your own mentality, but you need to respect the other one. And I think this is, you can make it small, you can keep it small, you can make it bigger. But this, I think, is the way I'm thinking, and this is the way this is my character. So I think in order to succeed, to feel you at home and to feel part of the local community, you need to respect the local community, and you need to work on this. You know, you need to be trying to be part of it. So to contribute on local events, local associations, become a member of the Philharmonique, the fanfare here at the brass band in Potamos, or a sport club, or a knitting group, I don't know, or a walking group, or whatever. I think this is very important. So the local people, and this is not only for Kythera, wherever you are, I think the local people realize that you are interested in the others. And this is, we are on an island. An island mentality is always a little bit different, but it's a mentality, and this is good. But don't try to make another island on an island. If you understand what I mean. I think this is very important. If you have this way of thinking, and I'm not saying that this is the best way of thinking, but this is, I think, a way of thinking that will help you to feel at home.
Yeah.
And the other people, the local people where you are becoming part of, will how you say in English, will respect this. They understand that you're doing the best, and this is I think the best connection you can have.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I want to ask you about what you see as the biggest challenges facing Kythera today, and how significant is the risk of mass tourism?
I
think that the biggest threat?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for this island, or this kind of islands, is I'm working in the tourism. This is my business. This is my love as well, and this is what I can. I think the biggest challenge is that there will be a good balance between the peacefulness of the island, and I don't mean the peacefulness in quietness that is that's very quiet now. There's no tourism in this period, but the island has a beautiful, peaceful, aura, and I think this is very important. Of course, we need tourism as well, but I think it will be a problem if the island will be taken over by a business, it might be one businessman or two or three businessmen, that it's taken over by another sort of country, become or German or Dutch or English or whatever country. So it will lose its own identity. And I think this is the biggest challenge, that the island needs to keep her identity. Of course, it will be developed. It will change. It changed also the last 23 years, and so it will change also the next 23 years. But if it's possible to keep the balance, so the island will keep its own identity, I think that's the biggest challenge.
And there are, of course, often differing views within the community about what is good development and what is not, like the expansion of the airport or very large-scale hotels and things like that. How do you think about approaching this constructively?
Is a very difficult discussion, a very difficult issue. Working in the tourism, I understand the people who want to have a bigger airport strip. I think now it's more important to find out before you decide to make a larger strip. It's more important to find out if the island needs a larger strip, because if there are no larger hotels, or if two operators from Europe, because we are talking about two operators from Europe, charter flights coming in, if they are not interested in this kind of islands, why would you make a larger strip? So I think this is the first step you need to do as an authority to find out if there is interest. I worked for Ross Holidays, nearly 7 seasons. So I have some experience. I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I know that it also for Ross Holidays, it was not very easy to fill up only 50 seats once a week.
Yeah.
You know, it went well, but okay, bringing a full airplane to Kythera is not very easy. It's not very easy. We saw it with the Danish people. We saw it with the from the Czech Republic charter company. They don't succeed. They try out, which is good, but they don't succeed, and they don't bring a full airplane, which is 150 passengers per plane. So as long as if you are discussing about increasing the airport, which is a good discussion because maybe the island needs this. I don't think so. But first, try out, make a research whether there is interest or not, and then you continue.
And would you imagine, like, because Kythera Green, of course, is very interested in also looking after the well-being of the island, the culture and the heritage of the island. What would you recommend as a way to approach this? I mean, is it about opening discussions with other people on the island? Is it town hall meetings? What do you think would be a useful contribution coming from our group to help explore some of these contentious issues around development?
Well, I think very important is to realize that, okay, the island will change. You know, also your own country, Australia, wherever everyone is from, it will change. So this Kythera will change as well. But as long as, personally speaking, it's in the right balance, that's okay. So for Kythera Green, I think it's very important to not to keep not to keep it not wanting keeping Kythera as it was 10 years ago or it is now, because it will change. But the change, if you agree, if Kythera Green agrees on as soon as the balance is good and any changes are okay, then I think what you can do is discussing this as much as possible with local authorities, with local village associations. Start with small communities. So it might be a good idea to get in contact with a local association, like the one in Potamos, like the one in Logotetianica, Avlemonas, Mitata. You know the larger villages, they have their own village associations. To find out in a discussion or a meeting, what is the problem of the village? You can't solve the problem, but just to discuss it, and maybe you can help each other with keeping the island as you want to do, because it's very important to listen also to the local people, because they might have other ideas which might be not your idea, but maybe they are better, maybe they are not that good, and maybe you can, having a discussion, maybe you can get a good solution that suits everyone in those small local communities. I think this is very important to mingle with the locals.
Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions in a minute.
Okay.
You seem to lead very quietly without aligning to politics. How do you manage that balance? And are you ever going to enter local politics on the island, Frank?
No, I'm not. I'm not a political person. I was once for about 2 years part of the tourism board of the council in Jora. but I'm not a kind of man who likes this. I don't like the discussions, and not in this tourism board, but the many times the discussions are going on and repeating themselves and repeating themselves before I was there and after I was there. I'm more a practical person. So if I see I can solve a problem or something, I can change something myself, I prefer to do it myself. I want to be free without, of course, I need my connections as well. But I prefer to create the way to work the way I'm doing. And of course, politics are very important, but I'm not a politician. I wouldn't be in the Netherlands either. You know, it doesn't have to do with the degree. It doesn't have to do anything with Greece. I'm not a political person. While working in the Netherlands, I love my job. I didn't like the meetings. You know, every Monday morning from 9 till 12, all those meetings. I'm not this kind of guy.
Yeah.
I want to practice.
You've obviously managed to get a lot done doing it your way, and you've made some huge changes to the island. So I think there's lots we can learn from. Just final question from me, and then a question from everyone else. A lot of us are not originally from here on the Kythera Green group. What should we be mindful of? What are the pitfalls we should be careful of as foreigners in a land we love, wanting to contribute somehow meaningfully? What is your advice to us? What are the pitfalls we should avoid? What is the approach you would recommend?
I think the most important thing is yes, I don't want to be rude. I don't know the right expression. Sometimes my English is not very well. I can't say the words I prefer to say in Dutch. But I think the most important thing is that you need to try to become part of the local community. I mean, don't present yourself as a community that knows everything.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is the most important thing. You are part of a community which is a small community, and it's not very easy becoming part of a smaller community. There are only living 3,000 people on the island, and try to become part of them. And this is, I think, very important. And becoming part of them, the local people will realize that you are interested in their culture, in the local community, in their daily life. If you are doing this, then you will feel yourself better, and you will have a better result in the things you want to achieve as a community, as an association, but always in contact, in conversation with the local people. I think this is very important. Don't put your finger on, I want to do this and you need to do this, because I think this is the best way. This, I think, is a wrong approach. You need to have a good conversation, and of course, if you don't find a solution, okay, you wait, and maybe you change your mind, or maybe the other people will change their mind, and at some point you will find a good solution. If you don't find, okay, that's okay as well. But I think this is the biggest issue, the biggest challenge for Kythera Green to become part of the local community.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Wise words. We will now open the conversations to questions. It's right on 1 hour. If everyone's happy to go for, say, 10 minutes longer, we will put it on gallery view, Dean, and I will do the same so I can see questions. Okay, Harry has a question. You have to unmute yourself. I know, you have to remember how to do that.
Just one moment, I'll allow it again. Hold on.
Ah,
Do,
thank
do,
you.
do, do, do.
We have
Okay, all
Harry,
good.
we have Pat.
Okay. Frank, just two questions actually. One's very quick. Um, is there anywhere on the island that people don't know you? Have you ever had an occasion where you've been somewhere on the island and they asked you who you were?
It doesn't happen often, but sometimes, they haven't seen me before, and then they say, "Oh, now I know you, who you are. I've heard so many things about you, blah blah blah." So this is always very nice, of course. Yeah, but yeah, it happens a few times.
Okay, that's cool. And the next question is, um, there's something I like about the difficulty of getting on and off the island. I know that can be really inconvenient, but my philosophy on that is that people who really want to come to the island will, and if some people find it too hard, they'll go elsewhere. I sort of like that. I know a lot of people rely on tourism to make a living, um, but what do you think about that? I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I know there's a balance in there somewhere.
I think it's a good thing for the island, and actually the island it's quite well accessible. Okay, you are on an island, but on every island, wherever I think you are in the world, apart from big islands, you need to program your trip. You need to schedule it, which is it's nice to do. I think it's not. I think it's good for the island. That's why I always say also to people, in January I went to the Netherlands to attend a tourism fair, and which I do every year, a tourism fair for hikes and bikes, hiking and biking tourism. And people ask me, is there a charter flight coming? Can we directly fly from Amsterdam or let's say Belgium or Germany to Kythera? Well, there is
Mm,
not, I tell them, but actually this is a good thing because the island remains quiet in a way. There is
yeah.
tourism, but it remains quiet. And the people, as you said, I agree on this. The people who come to Kythera, they come because they want to come to Kythera. And I think
Mm,
this is a good thing that the quality of tourism, if you can say this, the quality of tourism on Kythera, in generally spoken, is very, very good, very well. And this is what we need to realize, I think. If you have direct charter flights coming in, I don't say that this is not good tourism, this is worse tourism, this is very good as well. But it changes the way of having people on the island who look to the island as the island is. It's a different way of coming to Kythera, and I think it's good that it's not very easy, but it's not
mm.
very difficult as well.
Yeah,
You need to program it.
with a
Yeah,
bit of
Yep.
yeah.
a bit
I'm
of
going to move
planning, but
on,
it's good.
Harry,
Yeah.
because there's a few other questions. Just before
Yeah.
we get to you, Pat, Leah put the first question in the chat. A bus service, Frank. What's your view, Frank? Is it needed, wanted, and how can it be arranged?
I think it's needed. I told you the first time was we came to Kythera because we went to Greece every other year. Used to use bus services everywhere, which was very good, just sometimes once a day, but you could arrive everywhere. And the first time we arrived in Kythera, there wasn't a bus. So this was a sort of a surprise. But anyway, I think it's good for the island, for the local people, but also for the tourists. Of course, this is not very difficult to organize because you need a bus. You need a bus driver, you need the program. But the most important thing is you need money. And if there is no money for it from the authorities, I don't know how this is arranged in Greece, because I don't know. This is the local authority, the province, or is the state? I don't know how this functions. I think it's the state that they have to pay for this. Of course, it won't be financially successful on Kythera because there are only living 3,000 people. So what do you want? It's a full year bus service, or only for the tourists? I think it's important for the whole year. This will improve. This will improve a lot the island. But if there is no money available for it, forget it.
Yeah. Okay, maybe one thing Kythera Green can look at. Maybe
just before I remember, there was, I don't remember exactly, let's say about 10, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, there was a local initiative, a private initiative by the bus drivers who used to have their buses during the summer unused because there were no schools. And they created a bus service between the Diakofti, Chora, and Ayapelihia. And I'm not sure about not the airport, which was once a day or twice a day. It was a very good initiative, but it didn't have a very good follow-up. And because they didn't make enough money, because there wasn't enough people, there weren't enough people to hop on the bus, and they had to pay their petrol by themselves, finally, the bus drivers. So, if this is covered by an authority, then there is a will to willing to create such a bus service. But I prefer such a bus service for the whole year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Pat, you've been very patient there. You've got a question. Pat Kaufman. You're muted, Pat.
Thank you. Yes. Frank, that was just a wonderful, wonderful talk. And I love the way you are so positive. And I just wanted to let you know that Kythera Green, we took a stance from the beginning that we are not partisan in Kythera. We are affiliating ourselves with local groups. And our primary purpose is not to be contentious and not to get involved in politics, but to make ourselves available where we're needed. So if you need us to help with the path clearing or anything else, please do get in contact with us. Because most of us are foreigners. We're foreign residents, and we're very aware that we don't know everything that's going on. And I just wanted to ask you, one of the things that I've been very disturbed about is because proportionately land on Kythera to foreigners is very, very cheap. And they arrive here and they find a beautiful island and they immediately want to buy up without knowing the island. How do you deal with your visitors who might come and say, oh, I've fallen in love with this island in 2 days, 3 days, and want to find a place to stay? Because I'm finding that down here in the south, there are tenanted houses, by the poorer people who have year-round residency, who are getting kicked out and they have no place to go. And
so Frank, do you want to comment on that?
Sorry?
Yes.
So just how do you deal with that, and what would you suggest?
It's if people come to me asking about and they mention that they are interested to buy a plot of land or a house, I always tell them the first thing to do is, okay, if you have an option, the first thing to do is you will find a lawyer to find out if everything is okay. Forget everything what you know from your own country, and you start here from the bottom, from nothing. It's completely different. Don't compare, the administration work, the paperwork, whatever. It's completely different. That's the first thing I always tell people. And if they want to buy something here for permanently living, because usually the people come here during the summer months, or let's say from May till September, October. And if they want to find something for permanently living, I always tell them, come here as well in January and February, stay here for 2-3 weeks, because it's completely different. If you like the island in January, then it's okay. If you don't like it, try to find something else, somewhere else. Regarding the houses that are used for Airbnb or purpose, whatever, and it's more difficult for the local people or for Greek people to come to the island because they're working on schools or as a police man or woman or whatever, trying to find a house for, let's say, a year or 9 months. This is a problem in Kythera. That's true. This is a problem, and this is a worldwide problem. Actually, I don't know if we can change this. This is very, very difficult. Like the main cities as Barcelona, Amsterdam, Rome, Venice. There are huge restrictions now on renting Airbnbs and whatever. I don't think we will reach this stage here in Kythera, but this is, the local people and also non-local people who are not living here permanently. They're looking to make money, and they're looking which is the best way to make some money to have some extra income. And sometimes this might be an Airbnb, sometimes this might be a permanent renting possibility. This is I don't know, I don't find a solution in this. This is how the world economy market works, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. We have a comment from Pia in chat. I think the vote in the council has been made and accepted for an extension of the airport. So they will already be trying to get money for it. I don't know how the public can stop it. Are you aware of this, Frank, or do you know anything about the airport situation?
What I know is I didn't follow it. I didn't follow it into details, but what I understand is that they agreed on having a research whether it will be possible to extend the strip and the costs of this. You can't decide we will extend the landing strip and this will happen. There will be first a research, and this costs a lot of money, of course. Only the research costs a lot of money, but okay, without any research you can't start anything. And if the outcome is, I don't know how many millions of euros it will cost, then they will decide whether to do this. But again, I think it's very important that the authorities will do a market research to find out if European charter companies or tour operators like TUI, like I don't know the names, are interested at all to come to Kythera. I think this is a discussion, or a discussion you can have with the local council, which is important, making the final decision. If there is interest, okay, then there is a possibility. If there's no interest, I would suggest, please, and it's a little bit black-white I'm saying now, please use the monies for something else.
Yeah. We have a lovely question that we could quite happily end on here if we don't have any more. Alan Pascoe says, do you have a favorite spot on the island that makes you feel happy, and why?
Oops.
On the
That's
spot.
a good one. That's a good one. That's not a very easy one. Yes, I have several favorite spots on the island, and I like to go walking with people, you know, showing the island. I like to walk. I like to walk on my own as well. And my favorite spots actually are not very easy accessible spots. I like the cliffs south of the Aios Kosmas monastery in the direction of Melidoni. So at some point you leave the road to Melidoni to the right, and a beautiful, beautiful quarries. And south of these quarries are huge cliffs. And sitting there and with people or just on my own is one of the best spots on the island. Another beautiful spot I discovered only last winter was between Chalkos and Stenoavlaki, which is the south of the island, also sitting on top of a cliff, and just the sea decades of meters beneath you. It's amazing. One of the most beautiful spots where I go with people, or which is easy accessible for everyone, and is the Mudari Lighthouse, which is wonderful. And you know, the combination of the location, the combination of the nature, the emptiness, but also the buildings, which are beautiful, always makes me somehow emotional. I don't know why, but this is a very, very special location. By the way, tomorrow we are going to Mudari Lighthouse for our winter Sunday walk. And of course, last week I went checking the path, because next week we will have our trail maintenance week, and I checked the path from the waterfall down into the Watermill Valley in Milopotamos. And because we had a very nice rainy winter, everything is, you know, waterfall is streaming like never before, even though it was burned down in July. The damage is still very visible, but hearing the sound of running water, seeing the water streaming, it's one of my favorite spots. Fabulous. But I can continue. Don't worry, Alan, I can continue.
We want your top list, 10 top things. We have a question here from Dimitri saying, many farms across Greece survive by combining farming with agri-tourism. Is that something that you organise, or other tourism professionals on the islands organise? Is this something visitors are interested in doing? And are there farmers that want to engage in these initiatives?
There is no, like you have agritourism on Kythera, like you have in France or in Italy. What we do, though, is what we do during our hikes and programs is telling about the agriculture on Kythera. And if a group or people wants to find out, I arrange a meeting or extra guidance with, for example, a beekeeper, usually with Yannis Protopsaltis from Itata. Very interesting for people to know is the way how they grow here the babakia. Babakia is the dry agriculture, which is growing vegetables in April, May, June, without irrigating them, just with a wet air, the humidity from in the atmosphere, which is very special actually for Kythera. And I realize, and I know that the visitors are very interested in this as well. So this is what we try to do during our walks. We tell people about this, we explain this to the people. And if there is time, I always arrange a meeting either with a beekeeper or farmer or whatever, but there's no agritourism like you stay with a farmer and you help them for a week. What we do, though, is a little bit different. You could compare it, is we organize olive weeks. So people come in November to help Greek families picking olives for 3 or 4 days a week. We organize our trail maintenance weeks. Okay, this is not agriculture, but you are outside all day and you help us with maintaining these paths. Actually, I'm looking now for my own holiday in late November in Italy for a week, and I'm looking there at some agritourism, which is very, very interesting. And I'm thinking this should be a good idea for Kythera as well, to organize this, to create such a system. And I think it can work. It can work, but this needs a lot of work, and this needs, I think, also a different way of thinking regarding tourism.
Yeah. Frank, I'm just conscious of the time, and I've promised everyone will finish right on time, so our time is up. There's one question about what Kythera Green is. Basically, you can join Kythera Green. We have a WhatsApp group. Ask any of the members you've seen here to join. It's freely available. And Kythera Green basically aims to support and protect the island's culture, environment, and character. Basically, we're trying to be useful. We organise some walks, cleanups, nothing at the scale Frank's doing, but we're really keen to make a difference in small ways as best as we can. So yes, contact any of us, and the website will be live soon, Kythera Green, or for YouTube channel at Kythera Green on YouTube. Any more information, contact us. Frank, thank you so much. You are a delight. You are a
Thank you, Sonya.
You are such a wonder. I see what Harry said about everybody knowing you. We do, but we don't. And today I think we all learned a little bit more. Thank you for being so honest and open and sharing your wisdom and your stories. And yeah, look forward to seeing you and everyone else soon. And if everyone can just give a little visual clap for Frank, that would be lovely. And thank you all for joining us, and see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything, Sonya. It was very nice to talk with you and to hear the questions from everyone. There will be, for me, I will continue the work I'm doing, and I will get in contact with Kythera Green as well, to whenever I have a trail maintenance day, whatever, for sure. And I'm looking forward to see you all on Kythera. And in contact with the local people and on our beautiful hiking paths. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.